today. We're going to try to answer some of those questions, but I'm going to briefly just talk about the LPC stats and then talk about social engineering once again, because people are still getting their LPC stolen. They're being social engineered to give up their LPC under the guise of masternode setup, and most recently, evaluation of the masternode network itself from imposters posing as me, which is not necessarily a good thing. Some individuals caught it and immediately threw the finger to the imposter, but others hadn't. After talking about social engineering and Logis coin, which is going to be the focus of today's webinar, we're going to move into the exchanges and let you all know what's happening. I think the cat got out of the bag a little bit before we really wanted to announce it. But long story short, we accomplished our major milestone that we wanted to accomplish before the end of August. But then there are a few things I want to clarify in being able to push things forward. So let me see if I can share my screen and we can get this party started. I'm going to share, where is this? I may change up. I may have to stop and then switch to another application. But let me know if you can see my screen. I'm looking to the right. Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Just to briefly go over the stats for this week. No, we got hammered in the market. It's not just a pullback that is specific to a micro circumstance related specifically to LPC. As you know, we are still going through some of the negative sentiment as reflected in investors pulling funds and selling off in the market based upon the decision by the SEC not to approve the ETF. That ETF has been delayed. The decision has been delayed till around September 30th. That's what I'm hearing right now. But for the most part, it's impacted the market. We hit the all-time low in terms of the entire cryptocurrency market. Yesterday, the overall market cap for the entire cryptocurrency market was 192 million. Once again, the lowest it's ever been. As a consequence, all coins took a beating. We took a beating in particular, but yet it looks as if the market has recovered somewhat. The bulls defended that line at 6,000 or so, and we're above 6,400 at this point. As a consequence, we also see our price recovered in LPC at $6.10 per LPC, which is good. We have a daily volume a little over 500,000 and a market cap of $8.4 million. A little bit lower than the 8.7 million of last week, but yet it's the case that we're still tracking, we're recovering well, and we're increasing volume nonetheless, and we're continuing to move forward. ROI is 44 days at 825%. We're looking at the average masternode time because of the number of masternodes is increasing, and there were some individuals who were DMing me on Discord saying, I'm glad the price pulled back so I was able to get a masternode. So I'm thinking about getting another one. So I think that's good for some who didn't have a masternode but who were staking, but now have the opportunity to get one, being members of the community and staking for a while and seeing that price pull back, having the opportunity to get a masternode, I think is great. And once again, it protects the network, and that's what we like to have. 965 masternodes at this point. 965 masternodes at 1 minute per block gives you the average masternode reward frequency time. So you just multiply 965 masternodes time a minute, and that gives you roughly 6 hours, 6 minutes in terms of the average masternode cycle. So it's usually taking anywhere between 24 to 36 hours before a new masternode comes online. But it makes sense that it's taking longer and longer, given that we have a large number of masternodes. And this is record time. Before the end of this month, we have over 1,000. Looking at the number of coins locked, last week we were around 69.2%. I don't know exactly. Let me click back just to be sure. Yeah, last week, 69.38% in terms of masternodes locked up or coins locked up. And right now we're still continuing on that pace, trying to reach that 70% coins locked up. And once again, this demonstrates the value that LPC has to investors investing for the long term. And surprisingly, given the pullback that we had yesterday, it looks as if none of those masternodes, or very, very few masternodes, sold. If they did sell, then other buyers came in and took their place, which I think is a good thing, because these individuals are definitely here for the long term. So roughly 70% masternode or coins locked up, which once again, I think it's very good. The masternode worth almost one BTC at $6,104. Looking at the market cap, 8.4 million. Once again, masternodes 70% roughly, 69.95, because we could be 69.97 next week, and I don't want to say we went down actually, so it's 69.95%. Nodes and wallet, once again, this is an estimate, 23.57% in terms of the confirmation nodes and just regular wallets holding LPC. And then looking at the 24-hour volume, trade bot volume, assuming once again 50% of the trades happening on the exchanges is done by bots. So then it's the case now we are at almost 6%, 7%, well 6.5% in terms of the total market cap is happening on the exchanges, with human bots trading and with bots trading and then human bots trading. So we broke that chart down. Very, very small percentage of volume that's happening on the exchange, much larger percentage of masternode owners, and then you have roughly 24% in masternodes. And we're seeing that nice steady increase in the number of masternodes joining the network. I think it's a great thing that we have that progression. It's still going positive, increasing at around 20 masternodes per day on average, which is a much larger increase than what we had in the past. So this line right here is not necessarily straight linear, but it's beginning to curve upwards just a tad bit. I love to reach 4,000 nodes, but other investors might say, hey, then it's going to be 2 or 3 days before I get a reward. But hopefully the reflection in the price will be able to compensate for that to a degree. So I'll take a quick pause to see if there are any questions around the price action, the volume, masternodes, the wallets, and any issues around just LPC statistics in general. If not, let me do this. I'm going to stop sharing.
I was going to say, I got nothing so far, Damon, but I'll let you know if something pops up.
Okay. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen again. I'm sorry. I'm going to move into the next topic after discussing the statistics. Social engineering, as I mentioned earlier, it's still an issue whereby members are trusting imposters who are pretending to be me, talking around masternode networks, propagation, all these different phrases that they're using to make it seem complex. But if most of you know me, and if most of you are on the Discord channel and chat with me, I very rarely talk about the setting up the masternodes, masternode propagation, the security of the network. All my communication, the vast majority of my communication is happening through this channel here, which I think is a good thing, because there are members who are recognizing these scams, who are actually beginning to cut and paste and say, hey, look, this person is trying to scam me. Another person asks, hey, do you have 2 IDs on Discord? And that really doesn't make sense to ask that question, considering I have only 1 ID. And I was like, well, why do you ask? And then they say, well, it's the case somebody is wanting me to help to check out the masternode propagation. And then I was like, well, that person is an imposter. You could give them the finger if you'd like. So next thing you know, they turn around, they're posting to me screenshots. And I'd like to post those screenshots on a regular basis, so you see how these imposters or thieves are trying to steal your LPC. And that will more than likely extend over to our support project with LGS as well. But I want to emphasize over and over again, with this freedom that you are being given by being able to manage your own money, having no third party involved, With that level of freedom comes a lot of responsibility. There are people or investors who are coming on the Discord who are saying, oh man, I just lost all of my funds. Somebody took my funds and it hurts. And it hurts me to see that. That's why I want to talk about it each and every week, to make sure that we stay on topic, we stay focused, understanding that we're transitioning into an entirely new world of personal finance where third parties aren't involved. The banks take on that risk of protecting your money. That's why they're attacked each and every year. And there are hundreds of millions of dollars that are stolen from banks each and every year. That's why you see that you're getting that fee and they're charging you to store your money on the account. You are absorbing that cost. They're not absorbing the cost, they're passing it along to you. Now, because you have that responsibility of managing your own funds, people are going to begin to target you in concentrations, in places where there are high concentrations of people like yourselves who are beginning to manage their own personal finances. And as a consequence, the Discord channel is one of the primary channels through which individuals get socially engineered. So do not let it happen. Ping me directly. Everyone that you see on the right-hand panel of the Discord, the team members, if someone's reaching out to you and you see for the first time that this person is reaching out to you on the first time on a DM, immediately say, hey, I just need to confirm something right quick, and then touch base with several members of the team. Come to me directly if I'm online and get some credentials. You always want to verify what you see, verify what you hear, and get some consensus either from members of the team or somebody who's already set up a masternode, who's been here from the beginning, and you see them chatting on a regular basis. Touch base with them. Ask those questions. We're here to support each other, and I hate to see it each and every week, time and time again, despite the fact that we talk about social engineering. We know that it's happening. These hackers, they're in a position now, they can't hack the blockchain. They cannot hack the blockchain because that is a source that's been taken away from them because of the advances in this distributed ledger that's immutable and can't be hacked. They're looking for other sources where flaws can be found. They're looking for the chink in the chain. So you don't want to be the chink in the chain. You don't want to be that weakest link that they target in order to get those funds. So I'll stress it once again. Please, if someone's reaching out to you on a DM, do not, for any reason at all, give out anything. Don't download anything. Reach out to the other members of the team. Get confirmation. Click on that link on the right-hand side where you see the team members and say, hey, Damon, is this you? Someone's attempting to ask questions around. I'll say, you send them to me. You send them to me. Right now, they already know that I'm not responding to them. I'm giving them the straight thumbs up. I'm giving them the F word. At this point, most of our investors, you should be sophisticated enough to be able to manage your personal finances. We're going over this over and over again. I know a lot of you are doing a great job. For instance, when that mass DM went out to a lot of members of the team, asking or saying that there was going to be a fork and you needed to send in your LPC immediately or you're going to lose your funds. We checked the address. Nobody sent any funds. That was absolutely wonderful. Thumbs up, praise to the team, praise to the community that we're sophisticated enough to not fall for the garbage. But yet some of these computer scientists or hackers are now engaging in psychological techniques where they're leveraging your trust. They are leveraging the comfort that you feel interacting with the community, and you're freely giving away access to your private keys, access to your wallets, access to all of the information related to your funds. Don't do that. Don't fall for it. Just know it's getting more and more sophisticated, and as we proceed in this space, it's going to happen more and more. Okay. I'll pause right there to see if there are any more questions on social engineering. We're 17 minutes in, and I wanted to cover the Logis coin, and I did want to cover the exchanges.
You're doing good. So far, so good. No questions.
Okay. Questions around Logis coin. I'm going to pause my screen and switch to another view, if that makes sense, and begin to show the web. Let's do this. If I can find it, where's this page? This page, there we go. I'm gonna move this over here and go to Logis Coin. Logis Coin, if you've haven't had the opportunity to go to the website, I would encourage you to go to the website, read the white paper, just read about what we are attempting to do with the support project of LPC. I know I've gotten a lot of questions, I've gotten flack, I've gotten criticism, people saying, this project doesn't make any sense. How does it support LPC? First and foremost, it's a support project in the extent that instead of us going out and reaching to another third partner to whom we would have to pay money in order to distribute our, for instance, point of sale devices when they're built and ready for distribution and trialing in December. That's the mark. That is a milestone that we're looking to accomplish before the end of the year, to be able to have these devices, hardware, software configured, ready to distribute to some of the alpha participants. Some businesses have committed to say, yes, we want to try it out, to some members of the community, those individuals who want to be able to look at the interface, play with it, find out what's happening, and send in questions. We're going to go to that alpha phase, where it's going to be that testing internally, but yet we also want to go through that beta phase to make sure the product is what we've designed it to be according to the specifications. Once we have it built, and we're going to and we need a way to distribute that. We need the way for us, instead of depending on, say, Amex, or not Amex, but FedEx, or you're looking at the Postal Service. Let's begin to have a way in which we can build our own infrastructure, where we are vertically integrated with other projects that support us. This is one of the main ones where we want to be able to distribute the ATM machines, want to be able to distribute the point of sale devices. And even though you read the white paper, it talks about distributing other things, other products and service, and tracking through the issues of and focusing in on provenance. Yes, LPC is the first project, but at the same time, this project will support other logistics programs as well. So it not only supports the logistical distribution to the clients, but it's also going to help serve in terms of the operations of our team. It's the case that when we launched LPC, we had a very, 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 very small pre-mine where we spent money on exchanges, we spent money on sponsoring conferences, we spent money on marketers, we spent money on our different partners, we spent money on legal opinions, and when we launched, we had an assumption that there would be a lot of support from the community, given that we built an economic model where there would be sufficient rewards going to some masternode owners, and also to the confirmation nodes as well, where the POS rewards and the masternodes, individuals would feel good making a donation to contribute to help us to get listed on exchanges. It's been the case for every exchange that we've listed on. I've made it a point myself, first, not to invest in or not to get any pre-mine, not to be involved in any of the pre-sales. At the same time, I'm investing just like every single investor in the LPC community. I'm buying from the market. But at the same time, I know what I can do. I know what my team can do. And that, given that, I invest early and I hold for the long term. Trading day to day, that is not, all of the studies show that in order to really build wealth, particularly in making investments, doing day trading or doing swing trading, that's something that's not going to build sufficient or large amounts of wealth relative to buying, holding for the long term, particularly if it's a value-based project. And I do believe both LPC and the Logis and the LGC projects, these projects are both long-term plays. If you want to do day trading, you want to go and invest in a project where you just want to see high rewards, feel free. Every individual has the option, the freedom to be able to do what they like with their funds. But I do believe this is a very solid support project for LPC, and I'll take any questions that people have. And given, once again, when we took the pre-mine for LPC, there was an expectation that we'd have a lot of support in being able to list on exchanges. But it was the case, for instance, when we posted the links for Cryptopia, and we encouraged donations to be given for Cryptopia. At the time, it was, excuse me, at the time it was 12 BTC in order to list on Cryptopia. And most of you know, if you made contributions to the Cryptopia listing, there was 0.25 BTC for an anticipated 12 BTC listing. Once again, that's 12 BTC. So doing the mathematics on that, that's roughly $72,000 if you use rough $6,000 as the BTC price point. That's $72,000 in order to list on Cryptopia. What we got in donations was 0.25 or less than 3% from the community. Once again, we don't want to put pressure on the community. So decisions that we had to make as a team in order to meet our milestones and benchmarks is have a support project that supports operations, both for LGS and for LPC, and at the same time support the distribution of the products that we're going to create within the LPC overall product. People ask the question, I got this a lot of times, hey, Damon, this doesn't make sense. Why do you have two projects? You need to have one project. One project is going to dilute from LPC. And the model that I explained earlier was similar to what's happened in the centralized world, where you have these huge conglomerates or organizations that have their own stock, but yet there are subsidiaries that trade on the market. For instance, the example that I gave was in the last call was Berkshire Hathaway, where the price for one share is well over $100,000. But at the same time, Home Depot is owned in part through the acquisition of shares from Berkshire Hathaway. So it's the case, people can invest in Home Depot, own shares in Home Depot, but also can own the share in Berkshire Hathaway. At the same time, this is not just one particular conglomerate or large organization. The same thing applies to GE. GE has dozens of companies that support the GE brand. And at the same time, those are traded on the market itself. People may own GE stock. People may own the stock in these subsidiaries. You look at Disney, the same thing. Disney has a lot of different companies. You look at Pixar, which is under the Disney brand. You look at ESPN under the Disney brand. These organizations are independent, and sometimes they support the Disney brand itself. In the cryptocurrency space, that's not necessarily something that's known or popular, or it's even been done. At least most investors don't know that it's being done. It's being done to a certain degree with certain organizations, and I'll give a clear example of that now. As you're looking at my webpage, there's this one company based out of New York that's called Consensus. Most of you might know of them, you might not know of them. They have about 900 employees. Because they have about 900 employees, they're diversified in a wide variety of different projects, in essence, supporting the cryptocurrency space. And let's go walk through a few of them. BTC Relay, Ethercam, Blocks app, Stratos. All of these different organizations or different projects support support Consensus. They support the operation of this for-profit entity within the cryptocurrency space. So if Consensus can do it, if Disney can do it, if GE can do it, if Berkshire Hathaway can do it, why can't we do it? So, and what I'll say is going through, I was inspired by a minister who gave a talk about courage. So If you don't want to make waves, and I'm paraphrasing here, and I've edited some terms. If you don't want to make waves, be mediocre, be normal, fit in. If you're more concerned about what do the people say about this project, then neutralize everything that your maker has put into you to fit in with everybody else. Dress like them, walk like them, act like them, eat like them, go where they go, think like they think, do what they do. And once you've neutralized your uniqueness, and LPC and LGS in terms of what we've done over these past few months, it's very unique, very different. Once you neutralize your uniqueness, you don't need courage. It takes courage to be different. It takes courage to go where you've never gone before. For some of you, it took courage for you to invest in LPC, and for others, it took courage for you to invest in LGS. It takes courage to do what we've done in LGS and creating the organization. I know I was going to take a lot of flack for it, and once again, I take that responsibility. If it goes well, great. If it goes horrible, you could point the fingers at me. That's fine too. You can point the fingers at the team, because we've debated internally in terms of what we attempted to do for the project in order for the benefit of LPC. But it was a case, considering that we didn't have the support that we thought we were going to get, we had to make some operational decisions in order to meet the milestones and the benchmarks that we set on the LPC website in terms of being able to list. And once again, it takes courage to think outside the box. It takes courage to be successful. And I think we are successful right now. And it takes courage to win. You don't hear about people who don't win. You don't hear about organizations that don't win. If you win, they're going to talk about you. People are going to talk about you. I want people to talk about us in a positive way. Although at the same time, we're going to get, hey, this is a scam project. Man, this is scammy. This seems, you guys want to list on Cryptopia. You guys want to list on, Binance. That seems very scammy to me, guys. I don't think you can do it. But the question is, do you have the courage? And I think we have the courage. We've made some decisions. We're moving forward on these decisions. And if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to follow up with me. And I know we're at 10:30 already, but then I do want to talk about the exchanges. I'll take a quick pause before we move into the exchanges to take questions around the Logis coin.
Sure. There's a quick question here, Damon. Will there be a sign-up process for community members wanting to get involved with the alpha testing in that coin?
Yes, there will be, and feel free. Right now, we don't have a form, anything organized around it. Reach out to any of the team members or reach out to me personally, and I will begin to make that list for individual. And we're talking about everything about the rights to manufacture. If you have a manufacturing company, the right to distribute, sell, market. We have the expectation of giving priority to members of the LPC, LGS community to be able to sell these devices, to be able to market these devices. So that's something I think is very important. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to stop sharing. Feel free to reach out to me to ask any questions. And if you want to participate, there are a variety of roles to be filled. But once again, we have a certain amount we've allocated towards operations to be able to support members who moderate the Discord channels, to support individuals like myself who would go to a conference and speak on behalf of LPC. Being able to travel. For instance, I'm heading to Boston next week, actually this week, to speak to some students at Harvard and some businessmen out of Asia. So it's the case, branding, talking to community members, going out to different conferences, paying for exchanges. That's what our operational budget is that we've allocated the purpose for using with LPC and LGS. Okay, any other questions?
That's great. So there are not questions related to Logis. So maybe go to your next point, and then there's a couple more questions that are more general in nature.
Okay. Quickly, just to close it out. Exchanges. As I promised last week, I suggested that individuals would go on to I said I would post the exchanges that members would like for us to list. Even though I made a caveat once I posted it, the time to apply and get onto these exchanges and the fee and the application process itself, these are the things that we're taking into consideration in order to apply and actually get listed on these exchanges. So the 3 exchanges that we proposed were Kocoin, IDAX, and CryptoPia. CryptoPia was on our roadmap. IDAX and the other exchange, Kocoin, they were not necessarily on our roadmap, but we did see some need to plan for the next stage, considering our milestone was CryptoPia. The members of the community, you voted, you expressed your what was on your mind, and the vast majority of people, investors, selected Kocoin overwhelmingly. Not to the point where there was a blowout, but Kocoin was the exchange that people expressed a very strong interest for us to list on next. Granted, Kocoin, it takes time to be able to list on that exchange. We just paid for the legal opinion of an attorney because Kocoin requires a legal opinion on whether or not LPC is a security or it's a utility. We argued the position, and our attorneys agreed with us, given the information that we provided to them, the white paper, the conversations, the interaction, the browsing across the web on other similarly situated cryptocurrencies. And they were of the opinion, as we felt, that we were not a security. So that's one thing that is required for us to list on Kocoin. We also need to do an interview with them as well, a 10-minute interview with the team. So that's something it's on the roadmap, and it looks as if that will be the next exchange that we will prioritize to list on. At the same time, that was the first exchange that was voted number 1. The next one was CryptoPia. Because we've gone through the process, we've listed on the website, we put it as one of our milestones to cross. Given that we have the operational support, despite the small community involvement, we were able to get sufficient funds to pay the fee in order to get listed on CryptoPia. So we paid the fee. We've received the email saying that they've confirmed that they received our fee to list on CryptoPia. They will need to do a review of our code base in the repository. They'll also need to be able to do a wallet build. Once the code review and the wallet build, once those two things are complete, CryptoPia will create for us an invitation, not an invitation, but a listing banner. We'll post it to the different social media sites, and then we're ready to go. So I think for the most part, it's a technicality in terms of us getting listed, but we're moving forward. I hope most of you are pleased by that, even though it was voted number 2. We're going to list on that exchange next because it's the fastest. We're working on Kocoin next, and we'll give you updates as it happens.
Okay. 2 quick questions kind of related about POS. So any advice on proof of stake techniques, how to stake more effectively with a balance set into one input or divided by a few, I think is the question. And then the other one is, what currently is a minimum amount of coins for staking? What's a minimum and max stake ages?
Sure. And that question, it varies and it's dynamic as a consequence of the number of confirmation nodes that are in the network for proof of stake. Because similar to the circumstance whereby more and more masternodes are being added to the network, and because more and more masternodes are being added to the network, the average payout time for those masternodes is increasing by 1 minute every time a masternode is added to the network. Because that is true for the second level or second tier of the LPC network, whereas more and more wallets or more masternodes are deployed, the time for reward is going to increase. Note that when we see the block time for 1 minute or 60 seconds for a block reward, a single reward is given to a single confirmation wallet and a single masternode. So, if you look at the profit diagram, it has an entire amount for the block reward, and that's split by a percentage on the that's listed in the profit diagram in terms of what amount goes to the masternode, what amount goes to the proof of stake or the confirmation node. Because, as I mentioned earlier, because there are a lot of masternodes that have come online, there's a corresponding increase in the number of wallets, confirmation wallets that have come online as well. Because it's the case, there's going to be a lot of time that's going to elapse before these confirmation wallets or these POS, the POS stakes are paid out. Now, that's just explaining the amount of time, because a lot of people are saying, well, it takes a long time now for me to receive a reward. There are more wallets coming online and more masternodes coming online, and that's leading to that increase in time. The amount, initially starting out, the recommendation was more around, say, anywhere from 75 to 100 LPC that was needed on an open wallet, a confirmation node, in order to receive a reward. That number has been adjusted. There are people who are investors who are playing with different values. We haven't done a simulation around this, so I can't give you an exact, but I can give you some general parameters. The recommendation now is for at least 200 LPC to receive one POS reward per day. And I've done this myself. I've split those rewards. Say, for instance, if I have, say, 550 LPC in my confirmation wallet, because I have masternodes and I have a confirmation node. The confirmation node. With that confirmation node, and if I have 550 LPC, I'll split it out into 3 different addresses. So I'll say POS 1, POS 2, POS 3. POS 1, I'll put 200, send that 200 to myself. POS 2, repeat that process 200. POS 3, 150, send to myself. And that's the general approach that I use in order to receive at least 2, perhaps 3 rewards a day. And that's the expectation that I'm having now and I'm seeing in terms of the payouts. So I hope that makes sense. Create separate addresses, 200 apiece. But one note, as the number of masternodes come online, as the number of confirmation nodes come online, the staking amount is going to increase. And I would expect, I say 250 to 300 at a certain point. You could have a larger amount, but that's what we have. And that's the recommendation that I would give. There's nothing documented at this point, but that's what I see that works for me at this point.
Okay. And Damon, have one sort of final, I think, great question, which is some believe LPC is being wash traded as well as LGS. People want some proof that we aren't trading on the wash trading that the team does, because there is no other possible explanation to the volumes that are so consistent on Crypto Bridge and Coin Exchange. And why don't we have the dev on this webinar ever? And why create a new Logis coin when you already have LPC? And the only change I see are on rewards, logo, and hash algo to X11. And we saw pretty much high market manipulation on Coin Exchange also. We would like to know if the team is pumping the coin or not. So that's a lot of questions, but I think worth getting into.
So, and let's start one at a time. You may need to remind me of the other questions that came.
Sure.
First and foremost, there's no member of the team doing any manipulation in terms of the volume on Logis coin or for LPC. That's first. Even though there were individuals who would go and they would view all the trading that's taking place, the wash trading that you see happening on Cryptopia. There is an account on Cryptopia that's called LPC Official. Now let's think about this, guys. If I am of someone who wants to engage in wash trading to increase the volume of LPC, why would I have an interest in increasing the volume in LPC? And it's the case, our market cap is not increasing. The price is not necessarily increasing, but it's a wash trade. Moreover, if I were to do something like that, I wouldn't necessarily create a bot called LPC Official on Cryptopia to engage in the wash trading. Think about it. And I've gotten these questions over and over and over again. If I'm attempting to manipulate the market, what would be my interest in manipulating the market to manipulate the volume? What impact would the volume have on me? First and foremost, go back and look at the previous webinars. The goal, and I break it down each week in terms of the volume as relative to the percentage of the total market cap. Looking at the total percentage of the market cap, that volume is only 5–6%. Earlier, when we were talking about this, we had volumes of around 20%. Why would I have an interest in bringing the volume, the daily volume, back up to 20% given our market cap? What's the rationale behind that? Does that increase our ranking on Masternode Online? Of course it does. Does it increase our market cap? No, if it's wash trading, it doesn't. At the same time, does it increase our price per LPC? No, it doesn't. So why would what interest do I have in terms of manipulating that volume unless I was an exchange that wanted to increase my daily volume so that I can increase my ranking on CoinMarketCap in terms of the 24-hour trading volume? This, once again, is something that I explained that happened earlier with Binance. Binance gives the bot traders 0% in terms of the trading fee. Because they give 0% in terms of the trading fee, you just have these liquidation bots trading anytime that there's a small delta that would yield a reliable profit on each trade. How does that help me as the owner of LPC? How does that help the team? How does that help the community? Because I have, first and foremost, a fiduciary responsibility, one, to protect the network and then protect the investor. So I think we have to think a little bit about what's the underlying rationale of why we would do manipulation on Coin Exchange or do the manipulation on CryptoBridge. That's answering the first question. I forgot the other questions. Go ahead. I just saw a comment that came from the chat that says, it sounds like you've used bots before. Let me go ahead and I'll click the chat since I've lost Patrick.
No, I'm here. I'm sorry. I had an issue now, but I'm right here.
Sure.
So let's see. It sounds to me like you're using bots, and you just explained why you were doing it to increase your ranking on Masternodes Online, which makes the coin look more attractive. Therefore, more people will get nodes and hold them.
That's the rationale that I explained, that why they would use bots. And this, once again, how does that help the overall community? If I'm looking to manipulate the market in a way to increase LPC's position, at the end of the day, how does that help me? Even though one person would say, yes, it increases your rank on Masternode Online in terms of volume. But yet, look at our ROI. That also increases our rank in terms of the tab that you would select in terms of volume, considering that in terms of the ROI, because we have approximately 800%. That's a tactic that someone could use. It's the case we're attractive for our ROI, but we're also attractive in terms of the value-based proposition that we're giving for LPC and LGS. So I'm looking at it now. Why are you not talking about the actual project? I pointed out the web page. I encouraged everyone here to go to the site, read the white paper, learn about how LGS fits in as a logistics and a distribution project for the point of sale devices and the ATM machines. So what I'm trying to understand, what else is it about the project you would like to know?
We got a question here. What's happened since the white paper was written for LPC?
What's happened since the paper was written for LPC? From that, we have accomplished a wide variety of different things. We've accomplished the milestones on listing on all the exchange that we mentioned. We also were able to get a partnership with the largest R&D university in the United States. We were also able to sponsor some of the conferences in blockchain-based technology, in blockchain and cryptocurrency technology, in being a bronze sponsor at the Blockchain World Conference, and also being there's an upcoming conference as well where we are a silver sponsor. At the same time, in terms of our research and development, we are actually building out the specifications for the point of sale devices. So it's the case that with the first set of task orders that we have associated with UCF and the multi-year partnership that we have in place, we will be issuing out those task orders in fall of 2018. As a matter of fact, at the end of this month, I will be having my first set of conversations with the human factors students within the PhD program in human factors in the Department of Psychology at the University of Central Florida, who will be participating. Also at that meeting will be members of different programming teams within University of Central Florida who would want to be involved on the programming side. We will be soliciting them not only for participation and development of the point of sale devices, but also for our partner work with Lumina Datamatics, who needs individuals with expertise in AR and VR in doing that work. So there are a variety of different things that we've done since the white paper has come out, and we've actually rewritten the white paper as well and made some adjustments to it. I would encourage each and every investor to go to LPC to see that paper.
Great. Okay, and then I think we have some specific follow-up questions. How
Sure.
long until the POS devices are ready to roll out? When will UCF get those devices?
So there are task orders that are associated with the design phase of the software. There's task order associated with the design, development, and build of the hardware. So our target that we have in place for the build associated with those task orders is December 2018. So that's what we have in place as the milestone for the completion of the beta version of the point of sale device. And that's the target that we're sticking to, even though it's the case there are some competitors in this who are coming into the space. You see the partnership with Microsoft, you see the partnership with Microsoft and Starbucks to take cryptocurrencies using their own particular implementation. That's expected to come out sometime in November. But we have our timelines. Our timelines are our timelines. I'm not going to look at them as a competitor who's out ahead of us or behind us, because if you're looking at your competitor, you're not necessarily focused on the goal that you're attempting to accomplish. But the milestone or the timeline that you asked for, as mentioned earlier, was December 2018.
Yep. I think these are all great questions, and they're like important to talk about. So thanks to you guys for those questions for sure. Let's see, do we have any others? Just give it a minute. Let's see. The question is, are there any guarantees that UCF, let's see, I don't totally understand the question, but are there any guarantees that UCF will work with LPC in the near future or the future after this? If so, how much time? Maybe the question is like, how long is the commitment to be working together?
Sure. As I mentioned earlier, when we negotiated the relationship with UCF, it's a multi-year partnership. Because it is a multi-year partnership, we're going to be issuing out task orders every semester. And that multi-year partnership has been put in place for 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're looking at 5 years, 2 semesters for each set of task orders. We're going to be issuing out sets of task orders every semester based upon the project timelines, what we're trying to do in terms of getting out the point of sale devices, iterating on the devices, taking feedback from clients, taking feedback from members of the community, iterating on those, pushing out the ATMs as well, getting some tests done on those for different pilot partners who want to come on in place, either at gas stations or either at 7-Elevens or any stores within the US. And once that's done, we would, based upon that feedback coming from customers, we would issue out different sets of task orders. But that partnership has been put in place for 5 years, and we're expected to issue sets of task orders every semester for the next 2 times a year, every semester for 5 years.
Okay. And then there's a question about the POS devices. Where are those POS devices being made? And like, can we see them? And you know, the question is, will you update your website, I guess, presumably with, you know, looks at those POS systems?
Sure. As we make progress in building out the software and then building out the hardware, then you will get snapshots, you will get views. We'll post that on social media. We'll post it on Discord, so you guys will be able to see what progress that we're making. So
Great.
That's something that's in the works as we move forward in the implementation. But once again, task orders, they're scheduled to be issued the first part of the semester. The teams are being assembled. I'm talking to those teams or those team members at the end of this month to be able to move forward.
Sounds good. All right, let's see. No open questions. If anybody else has them, let's ask them now. Let's see. Question is, when will the Cryptopia listing be live? The website said 3 p.m. tomorrow.
Oh, if it said 3 p.m. tomorrow, it looks as if the build has taken. I haven't looked at the Discord, so I don't know what's being posted on there by lead dev. And I know there was a question about lead dev being on the call. The lead dev doesn't speak English. At the same time, anytime I have a conversation with him, we have a conversation via Zoom, and I'll have the face-to-face interaction, and then I'll text out, and he'll go through a translator using Google Translate, other translate applications to understand what we're saying. So that's one reason why the dev is not here. However, we can build the LPC channel for Poland, and then he could have webinars to take questions in his native language, if it's the case that you'd like to go over and then engage in that process of translating from your English to Polish, posting the question to him, speaking in his native language, then that's something that could happen, and feel free. I would ask him to be able to set that channel up if you all are willing to go over and then experience speaking in a language that is not your native language, you're not necessarily good in, but you can understand it to the degree that you have the technology to facilitate it. So that's one reason why he's not on the call. And I know you all are very good English speakers and very sophisticated in the questions that you ask. And then I don't want to necessarily have something that's lost in translation and a phone conversation or an interaction that takes 2 hours instead of an hour and a half.
Yeah. And you know, I think with regard to the apparent contradiction about the Cryptopia listing, I mean, we'll figure out what the actual, you know, what the story is, and we'll sort of post that. We'll post the correction to the record if something needs to be corrected. So
yeah, from what I understand now, a wallet build needs to take place, a code review needs to take place, and then there's a listing. To the degree that the team at Cryptopia has already done that review, they've already done the code review, they've already done the wallet build, and then they have an anticipated date. They've already sent that out. It's the case, perhaps I hadn't seen my email, but the lead dev has, based on the communications received from them, has posted that information. So if there's something that's different, I'm not going to state what the time is, but I've given you the steps that need to take place before a listing actually occurs.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you've been pretty regular in terms of suggesting that people, if they have questions about things that are giving them pause or whatever, to reach out to you on Discord. And I think that just knowing you and knowing like kind of how you communicate, I think that's something that people would find worthwhile, you know, if they need to reach out to you. So.
And I'm on every single day, at least 2 times a day, hour, maybe 2 hours every single day.
I know you are.
And I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed by questions. So feel free to come on the Discord channel, PM me, DM me on Twitter. At the same time, I do have a phone call. Call the number on the website. You want to sit down and have a conversation, we have a conversation.
Yep.
But make sure you have your questions lined up. It's very meaningful, and it's not necessarily something that whereby it's where you want to know, how are you trading on the bots to increase the volume on Cryptopia?
Sure. Yep. Makes sense. All right, folks. Well, it looks like there are no open questions at this point. Oh, let's see. Somebody says, I would like to add that there are plenty of community members always on and ready to help with any questions. That's a great thing to, yeah, that's a great thing for folks to remember for sure. So like, you know, it's not just Damon, of course, like there are multiple team members that you can sort of reach out to. But I think Damon, the reason I brought up Damon is because he's been sort of vocal in suggesting that folks reach out to directly to him. So you can reach out to whoever you like on the team, I suppose. Okay.
But give me questions. Give me questions. I'll take feedback. I'll take criticism to the extent that is a valid criticism. And at the same time, we can engage in a meaningful debate. Have your evidence, have your positions, make it clear, and then we can have that constructive conversation. But if you're just coming to have the conversation just to bash, to say, okay, you guys need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, despite the fact, and I asked the question, okay, what have you done in terms of making your contribution to the community? What have you done in terms of helping to make LPC a better product, to the degree that you've talked with other people about it? The technology, how have you contributed to the technology? How have you contributed to the economy of LPC? And how have you contributed to the community? Those are the three questions that I asked with a lot of individuals who level criticisms at me on a regular basis through the DM channel. I'll ask those questions. And when I begin to ask those questions relative to the questions that they ask me, then the conversation changes, the psychological mindset changes because of the level of contribution. I'm here every day. I hadn't taken any pre-mine, won't take any pre-mine. Everything is for my own investment. I totally support myself and my family from this. So it's the case that make sure that you're in a good position to ask the questions. Otherwise, you're going back and you're watching the videos again. You're going back and you're reading the white paper again. And it's kind of embarrassing to see that happen. And then 2 days later, you're going to come back with a question because you hadn't done the homework, or not even come back at all because you hadn't done the preparation to understand what we've done throughout this entire process. I appreciate criticism. I appreciate suggestions, but I also like for preparation. I like for individuals to be in a position where they have standing in order to be able to ask the questions. Not to say that, hey, if you own one LPC, you can't ask questions. I treat every single investor as if they are the only investor, because at the end of the day, if you don't do that, you're not going to have a successful organization at the end of the day. So I have a fiduciary responsibility to the investors, the organization, keeping the blockchain secure. And that's how I attempt to move forward. And that's how I operate. So I hope that every team member, every moderator, everyone who's involved in the community, when you interact with each other, treat every investor as if they are the only one. I know I've been hearing some things about Discord members might not have said things that were tactful in terms of the communication of other investors. That needs to stop. Once again, treat every investor as if they are the only one. But if you have criticism, bring the criticism, but at the same time, make sure it's framed properly and you have standing. If you're someone who buys one LPC, or you don't even own LPC, but it's the case that you're asking questions that really criticize the decisions that we've made throughout the process, I'll ask the three things. How have you been involved in technology? How have you been involved in the economy? How have you been involved in the community? If you can't answer those questions, but you're looking to invest, but yet those questions aren't framed in a proper way, it's a very difficult conversation to have. Particularly if you hadn't watched the webinars, hadn't read the white paper, hadn't reached out to the team, or even spoken to the community. There are individuals who, before they invested, they came in, they asked a lot of questions in the chat with the Discord members. They read the white papers, they watched the videos, and it's the case they still had questions, they sent them to me. And it's the point we were able to resolve any of the issues. I actually had a gentleman call me from the Silicon Valley, but he was from outside the United States. Had a conversation for about an hour and a half. But yet he asked all the relevant questions he needed answered. He enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the conversation as well, as we engaged in the conversation, in that talk. But that's the recommendation I would give for anybody moving forward. Have standing, understand what information is already available, and then you can ask the questions to me if you're not able to get it from any other sources.
Great. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks for another great webinar. Damon, thank you as always. Speak to you next week. Talk to you soon, right if you get work.
Take care, folks.